This is your boy DJ Leon D. I'm back, and we're going to talk about food and how to season chicken when you're cooking a lot of chicken. Matter of fact, I don't care if you're cooking a lot of chicken or just a little bit of chicken, but I'm going to tell you how we season it though. In this video, you're going to see my Traeger on fire, but you got to watch the whole video to see it. You're going to see it catch on fire and how I put it out. You're going to see that. And then I think I'm going to tell you how it got on fire, or maybe I'll save it for another video, but I figured out the Timberline 1300 catching fire quite a bit. Actually, not quite a bit. Every time I use it. Now, what I want to tell you about is how I season chicken. Now, everybody got their own way of seasoning food. But somebody at work asked me, how did my chicken get so seasoned so well? And now, I don't do this just with chicken. I do it with ribs too. But ribs, not so much like I do chicken. Because the chicken, you eat both sides of it. See, on the ribs, you eat just the top side, or the side with the meat. For those of you who are not sure what the top side is. The bones is just the bottom side. But let me get right into it about how I season my chicken. And in this video, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. And you can do a lot of chicken real quick. It's not anything difficult, hard, or you need a degree to do. Because most of you don't. But, well, most of you are never going to get one either. But here's what I do. I take the chicken and actually I get my pans out. I put the seasoning in the pan. And then I put the chicken on top of the seasoning while it's in the pan. Then I season the very top of the chicken. And then to keep the seasoning on the chicken, I put it in the refrigerator overnight. That's the key. Because if you put it in the refrigerator overnight, when you put it on the grill, you won't lose 2/3 of it. If you season it right away and put it on the grill right away, or your smoker, you're going to have all the seasoning fall off. And I don't buy all the seasoning to see it fall off. I want the seasoning to be on the meat. And as that meat gets cooler, the seasoning starts sinking in. That's why people say they let it rest for hours or a day or whatever have you. I generally do mine overnight. There is no set number of hours that I do mine for. I try to give it a good 12 to 24, just sitting in the refrigerator. And normally I put it where the temperature is kind of cool, so the seasoning gets really into the meat. And when you put it on the grill, and you'll see in this next video, when you put it on the grill, you're not going to have all your seasoning fall off. It's not going to happen that way. Some of you, when you eat people chicken or people meat, you actually wonder to yourself if they have ever seasoned the meat. You ask yourself, is this meat seasoned? When you taste mine, there ain't no doubt about it. It's got seasoning on it. And I don't mean one flake, one little flake of something. No, not one flake. Every single bite, you're going to have seasoning in that bite. And now, for some people who don't know, when I get chicken, the first thing I do, or any meat, first thing I do outside of ground meat, I don't do this with ground meat, with ground meat. Anything I do, one of the first things I do is that I clean the chicken. You got to get rid of the blood and everything else. Now, some of you I seen take chicken right out of the pack and put it right on the smoker or your grill. That's gross. That's nasty as hell. Some of you do it, and some of you are listening to it. Listen to me right now, talk about it, and you're going to sit there and think, I don't see a problem. No, I cut meat, I clean it, and I cut it to trim it up so it looks nice. I like for all my meats to look good on the grill. So if you don't clean it, you got blood and everything else. The only thing that I don't clean is ground meat. But I have a solution for ground meat as well, because I season that. You come into my house, you will not find patties, hamburger patties. No, they're all handmade. And I put them in a chicken flipper, close it. That way I can flip the burgers with no problem at all. Yeah, I put them in a chicken flipper, and I got about 5 of them, and I do it so that there's no problem at all. And that way they're even on both sides, if you time it right. But now, some people have asked, do I use chicken flippers for my chicken? No, I do not. Because chicken flippers take up a lot of room. And I use that room to put additional chicken on the smoker, as you see. I use that for that kind of stuff. And the seasoning is embedded in the skin. And if the skin, there's been times where I put seasoning underneath the skin. And when you set it in your refrigerator, the next day, that seasoning you put underneath the skin is embedded in the meat. It's embedded in the meat. So now you got a lot of seasoning. And some of you don't mind a lot of seasoning if it's good. But I am not the kind of person who thinks that the seasoning is why you came to my barbecue. Now, you're going to get blown away because the seasoning is going to be there. Not a problem. You're going to get blown away because the seasoning is going to be there. So I'm here to tell everybody that if you use my method, that seasoning is not going to fall off your smoker when you flip it, or if you move it just a little bit and you look at your smoker and you see all that red stuff, you see all that stuff there. No. That's your seasoning you're looking at. So basically you're smoking seasoning. No, my seasoning is well embedded into my meat. No matter what meat I cook, it's always that way. Even when I do prime ribs, not prime ribs, but ribeyes, I use seasoning and I let it sit overnight. If you let it sit overnight, but now, saying that, the moisture will get absorbed by the meat as well. So all my meats are tender. You're not going to find any of mine that's like a hockey puck and you bite into it and you chip a tooth on a ground beef. No, not me. You're not going to find, there's nobody can say I chipped a tooth on Leon's ground beef or on his ribs or anything. You just had bad teeth when you started. You just didn't know it. But your dentist knew it because he's charging you a lot of money. And isn't it funny to go off subject about the dentist who charge you the same amount of money whether you got 32 teeth or 21 teeth? They charge you the same amount. So when you season meat and even like ribs, I don't season the bones very heavy. Very, very light, because I know a lot of you like eating bones and licking them and everything else. I like the meat. So if you want to do things the right way, listen to me and I'll tell you the right way of doing it. Now, the one thing that I'm not a fan of, and I've never really bought, but I've seasoned them before. That's called boneless chicken. Thank God they don't have boneless ribs. But because, you got these people here who wants to eat a certain way or certain things, and somehow they think that buying boneless is healthier. No, because the best part of chicken, ribs, or anything is the meat closest to the damn bone. The meat closest to the bone after you wash it, because I do not want to see, blood. And I've been to people's houses where they cook the chicken and it's blood near the bone. No, clean that stuff off before I get there. But as far as seasoning chicken is one of those things that, in my opinion, it's never really too much seasoning on it. Now, don't get me wrong. If you get the wrong seasoning, it's too much. Some seasonings got a lot of salt. Some got a lot of pepper. Now, some got, all kind of stuff in it that gives it a weird taste. But also, when you talk about chicken, because I use dry rub. Now, I know there's people who like a wet rub. Nothing wrong with a wet rub if you're going to let it soak for a while. If you let it soak for a while, nothing wrong with it, a wet rub. I don't do wet rub. To me, part of the fun of it is me seasoning it and not dropping it in a bucket and hoping for the best. Because like I said, now, the advantage of wet rub is that you definitely get in all the nooks and crannies. You do not with a dry rub. So I'm not even going to sit there and pretend like that's a possibility, because it's not. You just got to let it sit for a while. And then that requires more equipment. You got to go out and get a bucket. They got buckets for those kind of things. Don't try and do it on the cheap on a paper towel, because liquid and paper towels don't go good together. They do not go good together. So My whole point of this whole video is that I'm showing you how I season my chicken and how your chicken can be better and it's more tasteful. You know what I mean? I mean, when every bite feels the same way or have the same thing in it, it feels a lot better. It tastes spectacular, you know. And if you got good teeth, you bite right through it, tug on it, it comes right off. Now, two things that I find it difficult to season: skinless and boneless chicken. Can I do it? Obviously, yes, I can do it. Do I like doing it? Hell no. It don't even look good when you take it out of the bag. It don't even look good. It kind of takes away a little of the joy of trimming the chicken, making it pretty, and doing all kind of things to it. It kind of takes a lot of the joy out of that. So when people do that kind of stuff or buy those kind of foods, I tell them, don't invite me. It's the reason why we got skin. Imagine if you walked around and you didn't have no skin on your legs. What do you think people are going to say, and how does that look? Nope, that do not look good at all. You know, what do you think? So my whole point to you is this: when you think about how you want your presentation of your meat to look, you want to dress it up. You want to look pretty. Would you go to a dance and see a girl with no skin on her legs and her arms, and you think that she is attractive? Yeah, some of you probably will, but no, that's ugly as hell. So chicken legs and chicken thighs and chicken in general is the exact same way. Exact same way. You want it to look attractive by having the skin on, but you got to treat the skin right. Now, there are people who soak their chicken in butter and all kind of other stuff. If you prep your chicken and you start putting liquids on it right away, the dry rub is gone. You got a couple specks, a couple flecks, a couple flakes, all of it is gone. Now, when I do competition, I can do that because normally I put the dry rub on last. Competition. But if I'm doing it just for friends and family, it's not competition. They want it a certain way. They know how you're going to do it, and that's what they expect. So that's kind of my whole thing about this is that I want your chicken to be like mine or be like the way you want it to be. I want that. If God wanted chicken to not have skin, he would not have given them skin. He gave them skin for a reason. And if you go down south and they fry food, they want that skin. They will kill you over chicken skin. You know, it's the same way, you know, some people eat all parts of a chicken. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm not a big fan of a cross cut. In other words, when you take a cleaver and just start cutting the chicken and not lining things up and just cut through the bone. I'm not a fan of that. I see a lot of people, you know, who do that. Now, what I tell people, if you're doing pulled chicken, where you're just going to take it off the bones and put it in a pan or a pot or whatever have you, then it doesn't matter how you cut the chicken. But when I do chicken legs and chicken other things, you know, thighs and stuff, I want a nice presentation. I want it to look like it was designed, not look like some kid found a cleaver and just went to work. I don't want that. That's why when you go to Popeyes or these other places and you want you want to get drunk off the grease, they cut the chicken a certain way, it look a certain way, they deep fry it. Now, I haven't had fried chicken in years, but I know that some of those fast food joints, and that's the reason I've not had fried chicken in a long time, because I don't go to fast food joints. I might go to one every 3 or 4 years, if that. I don't go to them. I don't see a need for them. To me, fried food joints, you know, you go to them, you can't complain, or you shouldn't complain. Some of you go to them and you complain. Now, cook yourself. Quit being fat and lazy. Cook yourself. And you know you like chicken. But I like smoked chicken, though, a lot better than fried chicken. And not only that, it's a whole lot more healthier for you. Yeah, I like smoked chicken. That's just me. Now, ain't nothing wrong with fried chicken in moderation. But I don't know anybody who eats fried chicken in moderation. Your stomach says, I want 2 pieces, and your mind just say, give me 3. And then you force yourself to eat the third one, the one that you should have not have gotten. Yeah. So, like I said, it's a lot different when you season it right. Smoked chicken is just as good as fried chicken if it's seasoned correctly. And I can tell you that because I spent a lot of years eating fried chicken. And then I saw it the next day. Fast food and greasy foods don't look good on day number 2. They do not look good. My smoked chicken looked the same way on day number 2 as it did day number 1. It looked the same way. The pan ain't full of grease. I can't complain. I cannot complain. So that's telling you a whole lot how it looks. And we eat with our eyes. If it doesn't look good, we're not going to eat it. We already know that. If it doesn't look good, we're not going to eat it. That's just the way it is. So when you cooking your chicken, think about the next day. I want mine to look as good on Tuesday as it did Sunday. Smoked chicken allow you to do that. So fried chicken don't allow you to do that. That grease builds up. Once you put it in the pan, that grease is going to start running off. And the next day you're going to be picking up a quart of grease per chicken. But a lot of you like the grease. I mean, people go in restaurants and they lick their fingers all the time. I think it's nasty and there's no home training involved, but people do it all the time because people want to sit there and they want to lick the grease. And my attitude is, why not just buy a bottle of olive oil and just drink it straight and add some chicken skin to it? You get the same effect. You get the same taste. That's all you got to do. Now, I like smoking my chicken. I like seasoning it very, very well. And I like to do it slow. Slow, when you smoke food, you can't be in a rush. You cannot be in a rush when you smoke food. That's just the way life works. They call it slow smoke for a reason. Slow and steady. So this is your boy DJ Leon D. We talking about seasoning chicken, dry versus wet. I'm not a fan of wet, but I've had some good wet rubs. I've had some, and I must admit they were good. But wet takes a while because you got to store it for a while in a bucket and hope that nothing falls in that bucket while your chicken's in that bucket. Now, you can put a lid on it, but most people don't. You don't. I went to a restaurant. They had about 50 buckets of chicken, and, it was their secret recipe, and nothing wrong with that. But that's not me. I like a good seasoning, put on the smoker, and let it do its thing. So this is your boy DJ Leon D. I'm out.